I mentioned in the last video that there's a revival of the spiritual in science fiction, right-wing art in general, where previously it had been an entirely materialistic field. Now, of course, that's exaggerated. Again, there's John C. Wright and others. But if you were to look at, the greatest sci-fi hits of 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, there's a lack of spirituality to them, a lack of soul, beyond just being, like Christian fiction, right? The idea that this isn't a material world, and rather it's a material and spiritual world mixed together. Melded into one sort of Ouroboros Mobius strip, forever twisting and tangling and eating itself. The meaning behind this, though, is that there's now an ability to shoot for a deeper logic to your worlds, to your writing, to everything that there is, and not just like add a religious veneer to it, right? I've read some sci-fi novels, and it's like there's more detail put onto their dinners than there is their actual spiritual sort of needs. They feel fear, they fear death, but they don't really talk about why they fear death. You know what I mean? Like if somebody were to get threatened with a gun, they go, "Oh, I'm so scared. I'm so scared of the gun, and dying." But there's no there's that saying, there's no atheist in a foxhole, right? It's true. It's absolutely true. And it's proven time and time again. These characters don't, fall down on their knees, begging, maybe they say something defiant, maybe they do something else, and it's like, well, that's just the story, Ben, that's just how they did it. No. The reason why they acted in certain ways and they wrote in certain ways that took out God or tried to minimize God is because they themselves hated God. It's not a very complicated issue. They might have said, well, I'm religious in such and such a way. Okay, so why did you write a science fiction where your characters find the God machine at the center of the universe, and it turns out God is just an AI, and he doesn't have any answers. And maybe there's bigger God behind him who made the AI, or maybe it's just the aliens who live on him like parasites. He used to be a grand empire. These things are spiritually deadening, and to consume them is spiritually deadening. To have no meaning to life, to have no spark of that divine nature, is to destroy the love of life beyond your carnal pleasures.